Is RG3 recovered, though?
Yeah,
or
that's a good
did
question.
he even have a concussion? We don't know. He doesn't know. He just works there. That's what he said at a press conference yesterday. Joining us now, Trevor Matich, our Redskins analyst. Trevor, this is the third preseason game. A lot of people call this the dress rehearsal because the fourth preseason game, hardly any of these starters will start. Joe Theismann said that this could very well be the most important game of Robert Griffin III's career. That's saying a lot for a preseason game. Do you agree?
I don't know that it's the most important of his career, but I think he's got a chance to shorten his to take away benefit of the doubt. Let's put it that way. If he struggles early in the regular season, because he got the job handed to him in February by the coach, and all of a sudden he's looking like he's not that guy. I mean, I think right now, as we talk about who should be the second quarterback, the battle for the backup quarterback job in case the starter falters. Right now it looks like Kirk Cousins might be that guy, or check that, Colt McCoy might be the backup. I think Kirk Cousins should be the starter. And right now RG3 looks like the third best quarterback. So if he doesn't come back and do better in this game, then all of a sudden, if he struggles in the first game or two, it gives the coach less of a reason to give him a longer time to play himself into a good starting NFL quarterback.
All right, now look, I want the Redskins to do well. But if he has another game like the last one, can you possibly start him as the starter?
I think, in my opinion, no. In my opinion, it should have been an open competition from the start. But the Redskins have 1 year in his contract next year that they have to think about. And unless he gets hurt, they will have to guarantee a $16 million salary for next year.
Golly.
In March, I believe it is. So they need to know if he's worth that. So this year, I don't know that they're really thinking they're going to the Super Bowl anyway.
Yeah.
So I think what they're thinking is we need to use this year to find out if RG3 is that guy. And if he is, well, good, we'll pay him.
Well,
if he's not, well, then we have to move a new direction.
Let me just ask you this, because, I've never even set foot in Redskin Park, not one time, but I follow everything that I read about the Redskins. And in today's Washington Post, there's a column, and here's the headline. The Redskins season hasn't yet begun, but it feels as if it's already begun to rot. And I got to tell you, I think that feels about right. Why is that?
Yeah, Jerry Brewer wrote that article, and you're right about that, Brian, because normally the Redskins start to feel like the Kardashians about week 4, and then things just spiral out of control. The season is lost on the field, but the drama is just insane, right? Well, all of a sudden now they're 2-0. The defense is showing a huge improvement. The running back situation is fantastic. The offensive line has been upgraded. Now they're growing into their roles. And it feels, like Jerry Brewer's article says, it feels like it was at the end of the last couple of seasons where things were just falling apart. And we haven't even started yet. This is the time, preseason, when Redskins fans are thinking this might be the year we get back to the playoffs and have a chance to run at the Super Bowl. And this feeling is horrible. And I think the biggest reason is because of all the stuff surrounding RG3.
Right.
Because everything else feels and is upgraded. Except for tight end.
I agree, Trevor. I got to say, coming from a couple of different NFL towns, it is remarkable how this town is so obsessed with the quarterback. And they seem to create, and I'm not saying there's no controversy there, but they seem to thrive off of it and feed off of it. Meanwhile, you just made some very important points. I'm sorry to take the conversation out of the Robert Griffin III realm for a moment, but let's talk about this Redskins defense. I know that it was just preseason games, and it was the Browns and the Lions, but they really are looking good right now. What's different about this defense?
They've upgraded the defensive line to start with. Terrence Knighton is a free agent at nose guard, is the biggest single difference in the front, and he has led a resurgent defense that has stoned the running game of the Lions, the starters, and the Browns starters. Now, it's just the preseason and everything's simple, but the Redskins are not doing anything crazy either, except for one big major change up front, and that is they're allowed to penetrate and be more aggressive at the line of scrimmage. Under the last regime and the last defense, the defensive line played more passively.
Yeah, they hardly ever blitzed, did they? It seems like they were never blitzing.
They would blitz, but the defensive linemen themselves would play at the line of scrimmage and try to eat up offensive blockers so that the linebackers could then run free.
Oh, I see.
Well, now what the defensive linemen are asked to do is penetrate and get upfield and cause trouble and be disruptive and attack. And that attacking style is leading to all kinds of positive dominoes falling for the Redskins front.
All right, returning back to RG3. This press conference yesterday. So he's asked, did you actually have a concussion? And he said, I have no idea. I was just in some pain, and the trainers came out, and that was it. I don't know. I was in the shower, man. I don't know if I had a concussion or not, Then he was asked about whether he should have stayed in the game as long as he did. He says, that's the coach's decision. Hey, man, I just work here. I mean, it almost sounds like that guy that you run into at the McDonald's when you ask him about some kind of official McDonald's policy. And he goes, I don't know, man. I just work here. I mean, his mindset doesn't seem to be that of a guy exuding a great deal of confidence.
Well, I think it's worse than that. I think it's pathetic that he would, at this point of his career, when he understands how things are taken out by the public and how they're reported by the media, that he would say something like that would allow this to fester the way it's festering.
Well, I mean, do you think he's sort of mentally checked out of here?
I don't know. I think that's what he's always done. It's what he's always done. And so whether or not he had a concussion, I don't know. I think it may well be that because the NFL's concussion protocol calls for players with a concussion are not allowed to speak to the media after the game, maybe the Redskins were looking for an excuse to not put him in front of the microphones because they were afraid that he might, dog his offensive line for not protecting him very well. I mean, I don't know. That's speculation right there. But here's the thing. All he has to say when asked if he had a concussion, is said, man, I got hit hard. The doctors were evaluating me for a concussion. And I'll tell you what, I'm glad that I was able to pass the protocols. You'll have to talk to them about a specific diagnosis. That's all you have to say. But by saying, oh, yeah, well, you'll have to talk to the people who report those kinds of things, I just work here, that is a flippant remark. And that is derogatory towards the organization, and I find that to be inexcusable. It's like a week or so ago when he was asked about a good practice that he had, and he talked about how he improved that day. This was before the second preseason game against the Lions, and then he added on his own, but it helps when everybody else is in the right places doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So this is still going on, and at some point, well, not at some point, in my opinion, a lot of the festering drama that Jerry Brewer wrote about when he wrote that headline you said, Brian, that it's already beginning to feel like it's begun to rot, a lot of that is because of the things that are being said by the quarterback. And at some point, not at some point, right now, in my opinion, it's so clear that there's so much of this festering appearance of rot that is on the quarterback's statements and actions that it's not necessary. It's self-inflicted.
Festering rot. They'll be putting that on T-shirts for the home opener.
Yeah, well, I'm real excited about the game now.
Not an actual rot.
Thanks, Trevor.
All right, guys.
Good
Hey,
talking
thanks, Trevor.
with you. That's Redskins versus Ravens tomorrow.
I'm depressed.